Welcome to another episode of Talking with Kevin and Son, featuring the people you should know. Hi, I'm Kevin Mclemore. I am your show host. I'm a four-time published author. I am a mentor, a coach, and some people call me a mindset messenger. This episode is brought to you by RMK Productions and the 10 United Podcast Network. Our mission is to give power to your voice, inspire, share stories and experiences and perspectives using the framework of teaching, learning, and modeling. Our purpose is very simple, folks. It's to create hope, helping other people every day. Now, you've heard me say this before. Whatever your objective is, like my guests today, successful people, they create a framework around their day-to-day life that not only enhances theirs, but sometimes they pour into others. Our guest brings to you more than 25 years of experience in the entertainment industry, as well as being a partner and manager of a production company called Primary Wave Entertainment, where he had founded and he was a partner of a talent agency startup group called Fortify. And please, you can correct me on any information that I may not get accurate. After putting that company together, they did an acquisition with a guy by the name of Don Buchwald and Association, and Buchwald became Buchwald and Fortified. Now, I'm going to tell you people, I got a lot of friends that are going to be tuning into this, and they're going to get all excited because this man was one of the biggest, largest talent agents, representatives, had some shows that were just off the chain, featuring Tyra Banks, featuring people like Don Cheadle, Miss Grande, Chevy Chase, and a good friend of ours that we shared, that we just learned, the late, great Ray Liotta, personal friends to both of us. And to his family, we send our condolences. Michelle, this is Kevin coming at you. But anyway, our guest today is a friend. He is a husband to Rebecca, a proud father to Jared, Weston, and Georgina. We'll talk about them. And not only will we talk about where he is right now, we'll talk about how he got his start. We'll talk about the physical, emotional, the aspirational, the cerebral, and ethereal parts of his life. So today, ladies and gentlemen, he is the light that lights up a dark room. He is that neighbor that's always there to give a helping hand. And he is that smile with a kind heart that makes the world go round. Let me welcome Mr. Ben Press. How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing great. That was a wonderful. Thank you. I'm so honored. That was a beautiful intro.
Oh,
Um,
thank you. I can do it again if you like.
I'm going to lovingly correct you on a couple of things that you basically got it right. My daughter's name is Georgia, and
Georgia.
yeah,
Okay.
and we actually named her because there was a street we lived on a street called Georgina, and we got her name
Okay.
from the street sign. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Georgia.
So
Georgia,
not
please
not
forget
incorrect, but and my agency was called Fortitude. Although I like the name
42.
Fortify. I like
All
Fortify.
right. All right. Well, see, this is the nice thing about it. I could fall back on the excuse that I live with a TBI from too much football, but I won't do that because I kind of prepared. But today my printer crashed on me, so I was not able to print out my notes. So I have everything on my cell phone. So I'm looking at it, and so people, let me tell you, as you start to get older, and you'll know how much you get older when people can read your notes because the font size two people over from you. So I happen to have the original font. I didn't correct it on my phone. So, but like I said, I'm okay. This is an open conversation how we do our interviews. So please correct me on anything that we're doing. So I may screw up on the ages of your kids, but since you brought it up that way, um, I got a question for you. You know, your resume reads like a feature film itself. I would say, knowing your stories, it's a blockbuster hit. But I want to peel back layers. So I know you got three kids. Jared's your oldest. He's 24. And if
Right.
he's had a birthday since we originally met, let me know.
He's 25
So,
now. Right. He's 25.
okay, see, all my notes are wrong. So
No,
anyway,
no, by the way,
25,
fine.
25-year-old Jared. All right. So the one thing that I know as a father, all right, and I have Alex, Theo, Connor, Jillian, and Keish. I'm always pouring information, but a lot of times we never hear the stories that's being told until our kids are telling the story. So if your son we're here today. And he would share one story that you repeatedly shares with him. What would that story be?
Oh, that's a great question. Wonderful question. So if I was to tell a story that he tells about me,
Hmm.
that
I mean, we all have this story. I always say when I was growing up, I had to do this and whatever. So my kids laugh about this when they hear me go back in time.
I like that. So Jared from early on was always his idol. Steven Spielberg is Steven Spielberg, and he used to run around the house as a kid with a camera filming movies. The way that Steven Spielberg used to do when he was a kid. And so Jared was always making movies with his friends around the house, and he later became a film major at NYU at Tisch, and now he's working for a producer. And he's a creative executive at a production company. But the story that he tells is he expressed to me that he really wanted to pursue film as a career. It's a passion of his. This is when he was, I want to say, about 10 years old. Really just was like, this is what I want to do. And I took it at face value. I said, okay, if this is what you want, as again, granted, I was a talent agent at the time. So there was a lot of osmosis. He was experiencing me do what I did in my world and was always very interested in it. But I took him, I said, you're coming with me. I took him one day to a set. It's the first set he ever went to. And I figured, as they say, go big or stay home. I took him to a set of, I represented Chevy Chase, it's a client. Chevy was doing a project with Ron Howard, who was directing. Actually, it was all the ex-presidents. Chevy Chase was playing Gerald Ford, which he used to do on SNL. Jim Carrey was playing Reagan. Um, Dan Aykroyd played Nixon. It was an incredible group of people that were there.
All right.
Um, anyway, I took Jared to the set, ostensibly to visit Chevy and say hello as his agent, but I brought Jared with me. And I wanted to have Jared watch Ron Howard shoot this and interact with the actors and all that. And so it wasn't just a quick set visit. We spent time, and Jared stood behind Ron Howard. It was like, hey, you want to see the monitor and this, that? And it was like a moment masterclass that, and I get it. It was a highly privileged, specific situation, but as they say, when it rains, lemons make lemonade. I figured I am going to allow for him to have an indelible experience that will inform where it goes from here for him. And he, to this day, remembers it so clearly. Thank God he does, because it was really unique. And I think it was very formative and foundational for him. And I'm so proud as a father to be able to have brought him inside so he could experience how it works. And I know he still kind of conjures the conversations he had with Ron Howard and the experience there. So all I can do as a father is try to set the path straight for my kids. I want them to, as I say, fail fast and fail cheap. But go your route and you learn and have your brush ups and pick yourself up again and keep going and build grit. But if I can open some doors and have them experience stuff because of my access, I'm all about it. And that's something he talks about that all the time.
All right, so that's the story that he would tell. Now we're going to turn the next page. You got Weston, 22, 23, somewhere in that age range, because they probably all have birthdays since the last time we spoke.
Yeah,
Um,
he's 22.
well, I know with my children, I have more than 300 original quotes. Most of my books are motivational books. I've illustrated and so forth. And so, often I realized when my grandfather was speaking to me, um, I was always in a hurry, didn't know I was listening. And it wasn't until I grew up and had my own children that I started to recant some of those stories. So, Weston, all right, you've probably given him some life lessons. If your son was to repeat one or two of those life lessons that you poured into him since he came into this world, what would your son say on stage of those lessons he learned from his father?
Well, I love these questions, by the way. Great stuff. I'm going to use these with people I talk to from here on. So it's happening right now for Weston that he is getting advice that I know he repeats back to me because here's why. I, as you know from my bio, started out in the mailroom at one of the major talent agencies, became an assistant and worked my way up. That's how you do it. It's apprenticeship, basically, when you're a trainee. Weston is doing the exact same thing as I did right now for an agency called CAA, which actually had bought the agency I worked for, ICM. And he's working for one of the top talent agents there the way I did. His desk is in the office with the agent, like mine was. And anybody who watched Entourage or seen any of that kind of swimming with sharks and whatever, they know it can get really blustery and it can get pretty hairy. It can get and scary when you're the assistant and you're working for important people who have very important clients. And sometimes you find yourself on the wrong end of a screaming, and it's very it rattles you. Well, I share with Weston my tips that got me through my boss, who I did everything from dodging thrown ashtrays at my head to being screamed at, and that stuff they don't allow anymore. But in the early '90s when I did it, they did. And I tell him the following, and I know he speaks to his friends about this, who are the same, also trainees there. One, when you're getting yelled at, pretend you're getting yelled that you're the person yelling at you is yelling at the person behind you, not at you. You're sort of like you get to dodge it. They're yelling at someone behind me. Trust me, it helps a lot. Two, you got to look at it like it's one of those mechanical bulls. The whole experience is a mechanical bull in one of those country western bars that are going crazy, and you get on that bull and you do not get thrown off. You hold on for dear life. You deal with every push and pull and turn and bump and everything. You do not get thrown off. Whatever it takes, do not get thrown off, because when that bull slows down eventually, all as the analogy, you're going to find yourself leapfrogging the competition, ahead of the game, swimming in respect, and it's the most incredible experience, and it's so helpful for your career. But do not get off. Do not get bucked off.
Right. Well, Georgia, 20 years old, probably now. Now, I will tell you, probably the most difficult thing that I have ever done in my life is raise daughters. All right. Have conversations with daughters. And probably one of the lines that I'll never forget is my daughter telling me, Dad, you don't understand. All right. You can motivate your sons one way, you can share life experience another way, but the way something's interpreted to your female child, how it's perceived by your female child, is totally different. I had to learn to be another human being. Sometimes in many days, I was an alien when I spoke to my daughter because I had no idea where we were going and what planet we're on. But being a successful father, all right. And I know from the career, because we've got friends in this business. There's a lot of away time at home, and there's phases in a young lady's life that she goes through, and sometimes she needs to talk to her dad, and sometimes dad's too busy. It may not be you. Sometimes you may not be listening because you're busy and whatever. So daughters need a lot. So I want to know what advice you would give to your daughter about career, about her health, about those damn men that was going to come into her life, and about life in general.
Yeah, this is great. This is my daughter. Raising a daughter is an entirely different experience, as you know, than raising a son. So, with my daughter, with Georgia, my focus with her and the lion's share of our conversations have been about, and this started early on, her self worth and her value, and to never underestimate, undersell, and misinterpret how powerful she is. I always say to her, I said, someday you're going to be president. She said, no, I don't want to be president. I said, you're not going to be able to help it. That's who you are. You're going to be president. She said, stop it. I said, well, you could be if you wanted to. And I am not just blowing her and puffing her up with these platitudes, but I mean, I really believe that if she sets her mind to whatever she wants, she will achieve it. I'm constantly blown away by the stuff she does, the people she reaches out to and sets, like she reached out to someone to set up a meeting with them and then told me after the fact, like, oh yeah, I called so and so. And so I was like, you did good on you. I mean, she had the compunction to go and do that. And it proved to me that she has built up her understanding of her value and self-worth. And for a young woman, not of course for a young man too, but for a young woman especially, um, it's societal, it's also boys. There's so many ways that these girls get knocked down, chopped down. It's sort of like a thousand cuts that make them feel less than. And whether it's commercials or whatever is being, they're experiencing on, of course, social media, and they feel less than. My main mission underlying, in all of our conversations is to constantly remind her and add to her foundation of her understanding, her power. That is hugely important for me to make sure that she understands.
All right. I thank you for being so open and candid. I ask these questions because a lot of times, children, we remember and we feel everything moms say, and we forget until after dad's gone what the dad has said to us, what he's poured into us, and whatever. And I wanted to make sure, because you're a personal friend, that your children never forget your words. All right. And the level of commitment and passions you had on there. I know if I've been your child, I've been his son, I've been pumped up. And as your daughter, I would be hugging you after this interview. But no man is complete without a better half. There's no chessboard with a king without a queen. You have relocated from Hollywood to a little small town in Ohio, all right, in the Midwest, with normal people. That people don't get excited about the car you drive, the where you've been or whatever. You're just Mr. Press or Ben, the next door neighbor. You're in Cincinnati, Ohio. Now I'm going to say this to you, all right? Finding the love of your life. If you had to write a love song to Miss Rebecca Whitman, and the title of that song would be, what would be the opening line and what would the title of that song be?
In finding you, I found me, and from here on, there's us.
That's all right. That's all right. All right. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a chance to get to know Mr. Ben Press on a very personal level. I hope that some part of his story can become your story. And if you're a single mom or a single father raising a child, I hope that advice and the commitment to his words become your words to your children, and they are as equally as inspired as I have been asking these questions. Now we're going to get a chance to know Ben. But before I go on, Mr. Press, how do people get in touch with you?
Oh, so my email address, first of all, social media. I love social media. I get a kick out of it. I don't take it too seriously, but I respect its marketing power and getting message across and reaching people. Um, so I'm a very active Instagram user, Ben Press One. Facebook, I've been on longer because it's been around longer, but it's a little, I'm a little less. I mean, everything I post on Instagram shows up on Facebook. I have that, so it goes there anyway.
Hmm.
But Facebook is another, certainly, Ben Press there. And, my email address is benjpress66, the year I was born, at gmail.com. So benjpress66 at gmail.com. And, I'm pretty darn good at responding.
All right. All right. So you guys got that information. That information will be in the show notes. If you go to RMK Productions and Network, and we'll be posting his interview fairly soon. So, Mr. Press, all right, Ben, you have come up from the mailroom, just like I said, Hollywood movie, and worked your way all the way up to you're having your own desk, your own office, and the first person walks in the room that you recognize that you've probably been a fan of that now you are representing. I know I asked this of a friend of mine when we both got an opportunity to play sports on another level. Um, did you piss in your pants or whatever the case may be? What was your reaction when the first celebrity walked in the room and you're representing them? And who was that?
Well, the first celebrity I represented, and let me just explain. When you get promoted, not to get all like super definitional about it, but when you get promoted, especially having worked for a huge star agent like I did as an assistant, he was a mentor of mine named Ed Lamato, who passed away about, I want to say about 12 or so years ago. Ed was probably the biggest talent agent in town, and certainly like the most respected. Um, I inherited a number of clients that he represented and became the junior on their team. So I had the unique situation of working with Denzel Washington, Steve Martin, Anthony Hopkins, Nicolas Cage, Madonna, Michelle Pfeiffer, Richard Gere. It was incredible because they all knew me after all these years of talking to them constantly. It was a natural that I flow into their life as on their team. But then I signed clients that I did not inherit. I actually signed them from other agencies. And the first one that I signed on my own was Ray Liotta.
All
And
right.
who for the audience were both old Ray Liotta pals, and which is really something special that I think is amazing, Kevin,
Yeah,
about both of us. And Ray, my favorite movie to this day is Goodfellas. Now that
mine
movie
too.
was made before I was in the industry. I was still in college when that movie was made, but it is my favorite movie. Why? Because there's not a single down minute in that entire film. Every minute counts and is brilliant. So anyway, fast forward, it was 1995, and I knew I wanted to sign Ray Liotta. I had my sights on him, and he was at my rival agency, CAA. I was at ICM, and as I mentioned, CAA later bought ICM. But anyway, I got to know Ray through his girlfriend, Michelle Grace, who I know you know. And
Yep.
Michelle was a young actress who needed some help, and I met her through another agent at ICM who knew her, and I got her out on auditions, and she was really appreciative. And we're talking, and she's like, "You got to meet my boyfriend, Ray Liotta." I said, "I would be thrilled." And she set up a lunch, and this is again 90, this is 94 into 95. We had lunch in Burbank. He lived in Burbank at the time.
Yeah.
And we hit it off, and I started to. This is not my method. This is just what's done or what was done then. I'd send scripts to him to get, scripts I had a feeling he was not seeing that he should. And I got to explain to him that, there's a shelf system, I called it. Shelf one are the superstars, and they see everything. Shelf two is what drips down from shelf one, you see. Shelf three gets the drip down from shelf two. And I said, you're considered shelf three where you are right now. So you're barely seeing what shelf two sees. I said, that's no way to be represented. You build in some paranoia based on truth, but the paranoia grows, and how actors
Mhm.
are. You know, and over time, he did a movie. He called me. He said, "Should I do this movie? I getting the most I'm ever getting paid." I said, "I don't care. You do not touch that movie. Don't do it." And he did it, and it was a horrible experience because you're right. I'm leaving them. I'm coming to you. And
Was it Dumbo Drop?
no, it was Turbulence. Remember
Okay.
Turbulence? He
Yeah, I
was a
remember that.
crazy killer on a plane, and it just had B written all over it. And they shoved him in it because he made a very nice several million. I mean, nothing to laugh
Well,
at, but that was one where it was take the money and jump two steps back, and that's not a career.
let me tell you, I wrote my one of my first screenplays on Ray's couch. Michelle had just moved from her hometown, and she had been dating Ray for long, and she moved
Flory.
into Ray's house. Yeah, and when I walked in, and he was reading a script, and I looked at the title. I'm going, Dumbo Drop. I'm going Dumbo Drop. I said, you went from Goodfellas to Dumbo Drop. And he said, yeah, it's going to be Kirk Russell. I said, Dumbo Drop. And then he showed me what he was getting paid. And I said, I understand.
By the way, a little Dumbo Drop story. He was still with the other team before I signed him when he was doing Dumbo Drop, and they shot in Thailand in Phuket, and I flew to Thailand and stayed at the hotel. Michelle knew I was coming, so and I visited Ray and Michelle. She was there, and we had dinner and everything. And I said, Ray, I said, your agents come to see you? He said, no. I was like, what? Knowing that they didn't. And you do what you do, and I went half across the world for him, and he, like I said, he ended up coming over to me, and I was best man at his wedding. He became a dear friend. Yes, a client, but a dear friend. And I adored Ray, and we just a lot of great memories, a lot of amazing memories. Not to get too into the biz, but there was a movie I wanted to put him in because he'd be opposite De Niro and Stallone, and it was a really good acting role in a movie called Copland. Remember Copland?
I remember Copland.
Yep. And James Mangold directed it, who's now that was his like first or second movie. Now he's gigantic, Mangold. But anyway, um, Harvey Weinstein was producing it, and I got on the phone. I was like, Harvey, of course, this is before the what hit the fan for him. But I said, Ray's got to do this movie, this role of Figs. It'd be perfect for him. And he goes, Ray Liotta will never be in my effing movie. Forget he had some serious issue against Ray.
Mhm.
And he went nuts and slammed the phone down. Of course, that just made me want to push further. And
Mhm.
after working him, he ultimately he caved. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is a small world because I'm looking at the timeline. The timeline that you came into Ray's life is the same time I came into Ray's life through Michelle. And it's amazing. He is by far one of the outside of his acting, he is a genuine person. We had deep conversations about you know the story behind him and his father.
Oh yeah, I met
Um,
Al. I knew
yeah,
Al.
yeah. So now it's amazing. But you've done other things. I'm peeling back the layer, and I'm going to end up where you are right now. Tara Banks, her show. You not only cast it, but I think you produced it. Please correct me.
Sure.
Um,
So Tyra, I signed in 2000 ish, 2000, 2001. And at this point, I left ICM to run the talent department at an agency called Paradigm. And Tyra had the concept for Next Top Model with Ken Mock, her co-producer, on it. And I said to her, let's, put this together. And Ken was at ICM, my former agency. Tyra was me at Paradigm. And the way it works, not to get all like nerdy about how the business works, but um, the agent from CAA, I as Tyra's agent, together linked up, even though we're competitors, we linked up to put it together. It's called packaging. It's really producing, but agents aren't allowed to produce. It's a very old esoteric law that they can't. So agents package, which is basically act as producers. And
mhm,
we put it together and sold it. And so I was the packaging agent for, and actually they tried to pull some stuff. And I was the package agent for America's Next Top Model, but they
mhm,
tried to kind of push out Tyra. Yes, she was the host of it, but they tried to kind of give her a much lesser um, deal as a producer. And of course, my job as an agent was to say, oh, no. Then
mhm.
we'll crash this whole thing and we'll make, because it won't happen without her. And they finally gave her the respect, but they tried to kind of give her a BS deal and we wouldn't stand for it. So ultimately, it worked out. And on that experience, interestingly enough, another uh, former supermodel, Elle Macpherson, I represented for many, many years. And she had a concept. It was actually just kind of interesting ebb and flow of business. In business, you got to pivot and do what you can.
Mhm.
When you have to, it's kill or be killed. And
Right.
I launched my agency called Fortitude in '07, and who could have known? 6, 7 months later, there was the writer's strike, which was a massive event. Everything stopped. Everyone put their pencils down. There was no movies, no TV, no actors working, no writers writing. It was devastating. Not a good time to have an agency start where you owe partners. I got the funding for the agency from an incredible man who was a big guy in the industry, and I had to pay him back, and it was very scary. So I went through the client list and saw who were the non-actors. Well, Elle McPherson, she really isn't an actor per se. Let's do reality TV because that's not governed by the Writers Guild. And
Hmm.
we put together, packaged a fashion star, which she hosted and executive produced. And I went to my pal Ben Silverman, who just an extraordinary guy, great guy. Ben loved the concept, loved Elle. They put it together. He had a company called Electus at the time. Now he's got Propagate and Electus. And we put it together on NBC and pack. So I got really adept at putting together series, which was a whole new skill set that I learned after I was, working with Ray and this and that. So yes, I was putting people in starring in films and TV series, but I was also putting together the actual product, and it was a great lesson. It was it was like what's that phrase? You build the plane while you're flying it. It felt a
Yep,
lot,
building a plane while flying.
yeah,
Yeah,
it felt like a lot of that. But hey, everyone else is doing the same thing. Why not me?
you're exactly right. It amazes me, listening to the stories. I've and I'm going to segue to what you're doing right now, but I'm going to say it's too bad that I don't know if you're still doing things in the industry. There is a young man in Boston, Massachusetts. His name is Naheem Garcia. He was one of the co-stars in The Holdover, which one of his co-stars won the Oscar last year. He is one person that, if I had a magic wand, it would give someone a needed talent a big break and a starring role in it. He's got a starring role in a movie coming up, a small independent called Money Games. But this guy, as a human being, as far as an actor that shows up to work and takes his craft very seriously, he's one of those people that if someone like you had been part of his life, his story will be one of these stories that we will be telling right now. All right,
Uh,
Naheem Garcia. If you get a chance to see Holdover, two things are going to happen. You're going to say, one, why didn't they write him a bigger part and fill in some of the gaps in the relationship between him and his co-star? Because there were a lot of open holes in their relationship. They developed it and then they just dropped it. I don't know if it got cut out on the floor or whatever, but I watched him star in an August Wilson play, and that man killed it. That man killed it. So, enough about. We know who you are. We know where you've been. Today, you are happily married to Rebecca Whitman, the love of your life. All
Indeed.
right. We've already given that, and you started a new company right now. And then the reason why I'm setting this up this way, because people, I want you to know that life is like the ocean. It comes and it goes, and it leaves a little something, and it takes something away. Now, to leave a big position, Hollywood, all right, which we just talked about. Cincinnati is becoming its own film industry. Atlanta is blowing up. Boston has its own community, and a lot of these big cities and whatever, Hollywood is coming to everyone else. And AI is going to have a big impact on making the everyday person accessible to being able to write screenplays and produce and create characters and so forth. But Ben, where are you right now? What are you doing right now?
Well, what I'm doing right now is I am working in private equity. I'm really excited and proud, and it's an incredible opportunity that arose like everything in my life. The opportunity fell out of the sky. Now you have to be, aware and accepting and adept at dealing with opportunities when they show up before they
Hmm.
leave, because you got to take it when it shows. A friend of mine said, "There's somebody
Hmm.
you got to meet." This was, by the way, a year ago. Said, "There's
Hmm.
somebody you need to meet." He is the chairman and the founder of a private equity firm, and I
Hmm.
love meeting people that my friends really like and
Right.
admire. But I didn't have any kind of like sights on going to private equity. So I said, "Yeah, happy to meet him." He shows up in LA. We grab drinks, and what I thought was going to be a nice, polite, nice to meet you. I hear great things about you from my pal. Turned into a 2+ hour get together. We talked about everything. I gave him my whole story, and at the end of the 2 hours, 3 hours, he said, "Hmm." And this is a great guy, by the way. His name is John Garcia. Is the founder and chairman of Solico Capital. which is based out of Rochester, Michigan, which is where he lives. Um, he said, "You have this incredible network of relationships going way back. Hollywood, politics, tech, this and that, very deep, super high net worth people." He said, "You power broker deals." He said, "Why don't you come do that with us?" And he was really, I got to say, I felt like I was being wooed by an agent. It was kind of amazing. There was no way I could say no. It was just so enticing to be able to. I love making deals. I'm a deal architect. That's what I was trained to do as an agent. I did it for walking, breathing individuals. It's now interesting, really cool to do it for entities, companies, et cetera. And I am loving it. And it throws all my skill sets into a slightly new avenue. And again, that's been the theme of my life. I throw myself into what are really, I think, extraordinarily interesting businesses and just try to learn and get really damn good at it, and really, work up a great reputation. And then when I feel it, it's time to pivot, and take that with me to the next stop. And that's what I've done from, I know we haven't talked about it, but just quickly to jump back, I had my sights set on politics when I was in college, and then right after college. That was my focus. As I was learning to run campaigns, political campaigns, but I was going to throw myself in it and ultimately run myself. And my best friend's dad, who just recently passed away, an extraordinary man, a legend named Stanley Jaffe, who won the Oscar for producing Kramer versus Kramer and Fatal Attraction and Bad News Bears, and he was chairman of Paramount. I had dinner with him one night. I was 23, and he said, "Forget politics. You should be an agent." And I thought, "Wait, what?" He said, "You should be an agent." And he knew me very well. And I figured, pardon me, but I'm a schmuck not to listen to him, because here's a guy who doors would swing open with his entree. How crazy not to take that opportunity that fell out of the sky. And I did. And, 25 years later, I did it all those years, and I was so proud of it. And then pivoted to tech, where I worked in kind of the nexus of entertainment tech startups, which was really exciting. But my point is, I have always, and there's a theme to my life, whenever powerful, worthy, intelligent, um, uh, intuitive people give me advice and say, "You should do this," or "How about you come do this with us?" I take that to heart, and especially when it reaches the level of, like, everything from monetary acceptability to opportunity to reputation, you do it. And it's been the most incredible journey that keeps going. And now I'm flowing back to politics too. In next chapter of my life, that the private equity work is, I find, extraordinary, and it is so intellectually satisfying and fun. My colleagues are amazing at Solico, and so that's what I'm doing. But I'm talking, later. I'm starting to lay down some foundations for serving in office for
Well,
CEO.
I will tell you this. I don't know which side that you swing on, but I do know your person as a character. My mother marched for Dr. King, and one of the things she did not want me to get into was politics, but it's been something that I've always wanted to do. I'm a little too old for that right now. I said, but if I ever had a friend that was going to do something that was going to make a difference, and change people's lives, enhance their lives, you can count me in. So whatever support I can give you, when you do make the decision, and I don't know if you're using this platform right now to actually go ahead and make that announcement now. If you want to,
Well, I'll
you can
tell you.
tell me when you're going to run.
I'll tell you, and let me step back, because you asked, where I swing. I do this because, and I always have a compulsion to serve. I have to serve. I can't be on the sidelines. I have to be in the arena, getting involved. And what does that mean, getting involved? Like, so
Right.
what? Well, it's about trying to leave wherever I am, and I happen to be in Cincinnati right now by choice, better than the way I found it. I have a deep passion to live here. It's what moved us from Los Angeles. I fell in love with the city. and the culture and the people and just all of it. And I must have lived here in a past life or something because I have this preternatural connection to this city. I can't even explain. It makes me feel incredible. And so with that being said, I um, I don't care who's on what side. I just want to get the job done of bringing peace and prosperity and safety and to my neighbors. And I mean neighbors like macro, in the city
Hmm.
as well as the people across the street. But I just threw a housewarming party with Rebecca on Saturday night. It was just an incredible event. We had over 100 people here, and it was our um, welcoming friends, neighbors, family. It was a blast. And I'll give you a little microcosm of what went on there because it speaks to my soul. Is we had an extraordinary woman. Her name is Mika. She's a city council woman here in Cincinnati. Um, Brilliant African American Democrat, um, and just is lighting it up here. She's a force of nature, and she was speaking on my back deck with Congressman Brad Wenstrup, who is a six-term United States congressman, Iraqi war vet, doctor, and Republican, who served Ohio's second district, which is part of Cincinnati and its environs. Cincinnati kind of has his part. It's Ohio one and Ohio two. So he was Ohio's second district, and he's on Trump's National Security Advisory Board, and he's a hero, war hero himself. Anyway, an extraordinary man, a fantastic guy. He and Mika, Brad and Mika, were chatting up, having a blast, and I was like, that's what it's about. I have a Democrat and a Republican, both unbelievable at what they do, and maybe they come from different perspectives. But again, what's the enjoinder here? What's the commonality? Peace and prosperity. Let's just get there.
Right.
Maybe there's different plans to get there, but let's just get there. Um, so that's how I see it. I don't mean to be Pollyanna, and
No, that's fine. I'm enjoying this. I'm just thinking when we get off here, I'm going to send you. I was talking to you earlier about music that I've been that I wrote, and I'm going to send you something that put a smile on Bernie Sanders' face that I just wrote, and the whole thing is bringing people together. So I think you're going to get a big kick out of it. How do people get in touch with you, Ben?
uh, email benjpress66 at gmail.com. And again, Ben Press One on Instagram and Facebook, Ben Press. I'm just getting this going. I have to get 500 signatures by August, which I know I can do, to get on the ballot. And then it's November, election day, November, which is the main election day where city council, there's 9 seats up for city council. So big opportunity, and I'm going to go for it. And I look at it this way: it's a win-win. If I win, I win. I get to actually get in there and roll up my sleeves and try to make this city even better. And boy, it's so on the way up. It's
Right.
so on the rise, this town. And if I don't win,
No, 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 don't have that conversation.
but let me let
No,
me
I.
wait, let me. You got to let me.
All right, go ahead.
Name recognition will have leapfrog what it is today. And they're 2 year terms. It's a 2 year term. I ain't going anywhere. I'm coming back. I'm the energizer bunny. I'm going to keep coming back and coming back and coming back. So that's my superpower.
All right. Well, feel free to use my platform for good. You're always going to be welcome back. I'm going to take it, ladies and gentlemen. This is his official announcement, unofficial but official announcement that he's throwing his hat into to the ring. He's
And by
going
the
to
way,
change some things.
it is part time for all the people on city council part time. So I'm still in private equity. So I do that and do this.
All right, all right. So, I'm not going to end the show yet. I know you want to, and I know people.
Too much fun. You're not going
Yeah,
anywhere.
and people are going to ask a lot of questions on how they can get in touch with you to talk about private equity and so forth. Is there a website or something they can look you up?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't have my own website yet. Obviously, there's a big need for that, and that is going to get up there shortly. But
I can take
um,
care of that.
yeah, all right. Well, I'm excited about that, but not but and um, Silico Capital has its website, and I'm reachable. So there's inflow to me. I'm not I'm
All
not
right, no
behind
problem.
doors.
All right. Well, let me kind of go off the beaten path of your story, your career, and whatever. I have a couple of questions to ask you. I always tell people, especially young people, stop feeding your distraction. 90% of the people I see during the course of the day don't even look up. They don't smell the roses. They don't even know the sky's blue. It's because they're so attached. I read a book called Hooked and then Unhooked about the guy that taught us, how to be attached to our cell phones, social media, and whatever. And then when he had children, he decided to redo what he has done. Your distractions. How do you not feed your distractions?
It's a great question. Again, you got terrific questions.
I can do this all day.
I'm really I'm super fortunate. I'm not a distracted person. I don't know where it comes from, but I am able to keep my eye on the ball and on things that I'm focused on. And I don't know, it's sort of like self-imposed blinders that help me. Um, I follow something. There's one of the great books I've read um, is called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer, and it's a phenomenal book. This guy Michael Singer went from being a barefoot hippie in the woods to being CEO of WebMD, and it's his story, and it's unbelievable. And his whole mantra is surrender, which means life is. He said basically life is kind of like this stream and we spend so much time damming it up for what we want. Oh, I'm going to put rocks here and get the water to flow that way because I want this here. And he's like, no, 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 no. Let it flow. Let it happen the way it's supposed to. So I utilize that. That's like, and by the way, it goes back to what I was saying. Oh, I'm meeting this person who's the chairman of the private equity firm. You know what? That's where it's flowing. I'm going to go with it. Obviously you say no to stuff if it is antithetical to your values or who knows what. But when it fits, you go for it. And I have surrendered to that. And surrender is a positive word here, deeply positive, powerful. And so I think that's helped me understand I don't need to be distracted. Distraction also comes from paranoia. A lot of FOMO. Oh my
Mhm.
God, I got to pay attention to that, or I should do this. I don't want to miss out on that. I quiet that noise and sort of and there's someone else who uses water. I think it was Bruce Lee,
Bruce Lee.
path of water. And also, by the way, I'm a skier, and when I'm at the top of a serious chute
Slow.
below
Hmm.
me with moguls, this and that, I mentally think, how would water flow? That's how I'm going to ski. That's how I'm going to ski. This is how water would flow. And so I take that with me and everything, and as a result, it keeps me from being distracted, from having I don't fear not seeing that thing that flashing on the side or that message that just came in or whatever. There's always time. And
All
if
right.
someone if I'm not fast enough for someone, then it wasn't meant to be anyway.
Well said. Well said. Have you read the book by Dan Sullivan, The Gap and the Game?
I know all about it. I'm not, but I'm very aware of the book.
It is a great book. It had put my speaking engagements from a 45-minute speech to about a 10-minute speech. It is so simple about the things that we hold on to and what we have important and what we should move on to from The Gap in the Game by Dan Sullivan is a must read. If you don't have the book, I'll make sure you get it. Going to ask, well, I'm not even going to ask this because probably you do or you don't, or you probably don't need to. Most people that I meet journal. I
Okay, I didn't hear that. Most
most
people.
most people that I meet journal. So I don't know if you do it. I don't set goals, and the reason why I don't set goals because I think goals have a reset button on it. They become unrealistic. But I do have tasks, which most people will define as a goal, and so I try to focus on one task at a time. Even though I have many things I need to do, once I get it done, I move on, and then I surround myself with other good people that can get those other things done. Um, I'm never going to ask you this because I know you surround yourself by high call to action people, but I want to talk about self talk. Do you ever get to a place that sometimes life gets overwhelming and you have to have these conversations with yourself to get back into the boat? I always say, don't ever drag anyone, don't ever take someone on your dream when they're dragging their feet on their own. How do you get out of that one space when you just need to um, reset for a little bit and kind of when you have more questions than answers? How do you get out of that space?
I First of all, let me jump back to answer. I don't journal. Not that I'm not against it. I just don't. I don't. I probably could make my life that much better by doing it. I just don't. But to answer this, I turn to something that I wish I knew the origin of how I started thinking this way. But um, I have something I'm very proud about in my family, which is my great grandfather came over here from Russia in the like early 1890s, and he started a business in 1902 called J Press that became, and it's still around today, like the defining, most respected men's clothing company for like really high end. It was used to be associated with like very Ivy League. There's a store at Harvard, Yale. There way back there was one at Princeton. There's of course New York. There's Washington D.C. But and you know Rockefellers and Bushes and this is and that all clothed by J Press. It's got this real incredible pedigree and history. But my great grandfather who started it, who came from nothing, I know what he must have tackled to start and build what he built. I can't even imagine the difficulties and the crises and what he went through in his life and business to get it to where it was. So fast forward when I go through and man, we all do and I go through craziness that business wise and decisions and things. It's life. And when I'm finding that I'm like not in a good place about it, I think back to his name was Jacoby Press. I think back to Jacoby, who I never met. He died in the 50s, But there's such a history about him, and I hear stories about him from my father and my grandfather who passed away. But I was very close to my grandfather who told me about. Um, I know that whatever he did to tackle the immense stuff that was up against, he got by and got through. I know that it's in my DNA. It's there. I'm really fortunate. That DNA that served him has been implanted in me. And if he got through and built what he did that became so legendary in a very small, like specific world, but still, I got it too. And I am going to get through because nothing I'm experiencing is larger than what others experience. And I can get through. I just know I can. I just know there's another side. So I reach and I know my DNA is pumping ways to get through it, and I just trust that.
Man, you giving us a lot of good stuff. As Tony Robbins would say, all these nuggets that you're leaving here. If my listeners have not been inspired, you need to turn the page and open your eyes because this was a masterclass and what life is about, where you are now, where you were, and where you need to be. When we talked about emotions, the physical emotions, the attitude, it's all been here today. Um, I'm Ben. I didn't tell you this. I have a list of 100 people that are successful, and we talk about their secrets. And we're not talking about the financial, their bank account, or whatever. We're talking about people that give back to others. And I'm going to add you, if you don't mind, if you'd honor me, to add you to that list of the 100 people I know and share the secrets of their success. So if you had to list your secrets to success, what would they be?
Surrender. Listen to, and this I get from my wife, Rebecca, who you know. She's taught me to listen to the universe, so to speak. I listen. When I was younger, I wasn't in touch with that. I got a little bit of wisdom along the way. And I listen to the signals that are all around me that I need to pay attention to about everything, life, business, relationships, what have you. Just the universe will what's someone said something doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. We're
Mhm.
here, everything around us is here for us. So I take that mindset. So there's that. Um, I I also, I think they called Harry Truman when he was president the Happy Warrior.
Mhm.
Um, I love that. And I've always kind of personally adopted that. It's natural in me, but I didn't know what to kind of call it. And I was like, oh, they used to say that about him. That's how I feel. I feel like the happy warrior. And that's not to, I work my tush off for my wins, and I do everything I can to win in life. But boy, do I enjoy and smell the roses and understand the positive nature of what life should be. And I buy into that. So I don't sweat the small stuff. Um, I really am upbeat. It's not an effort, it's just how I'm wired. And that positivity. Someone once said, "Oh, you're nice." And I was like, I hate that word nice. Nice is like the weather. Nice is like, yeah, I'm good now and then could get really mean later, but I'm nice right now. I like kind. Kind is a state, is like your foundation. You are kind. Nice is not a foundation.
All right.
Uh, so I'm a kind person. I know that about myself, and that guides me. Rebecca says, "Always make the decision. Where would love go?" I think I'm kind of quoting her correctly. What would love do? Um, I sort of take that, and where would kindness go? Yeah, you got to be tough. You got to hold your ground, and you got to, not take other people's crap. But if you're kind, there's a demeanor you take into it that I think when you do achieve, you feel a whole lot better than the people that aren't. And
Right.
I also want to say I learned this in Hollywood. I used to call it the Hollywood rule of relativity. There are really bad people in Hollywood, as there are in many businesses. Really bad people. They have just as equal an opportunity to succeed as the good people. I don't think bad people are held back or no. Bad people make it really far. Good people make it really far. But I think the good people have a far better time when they get far.
Amen. I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Ben, I don't know how much more I can thank you, and I'll be doing this until we have 366 days in a year. So that's how many times I'm going to thank you. I'm going to give you my hashtag, find 1,000 reasons to be kind to someone. You can adapt that, use it part of your political campaign. So I'm going public. It's yours. Feel free to use it. The other thing is, I surround myself with a group of people that have a high call to action. I did not know this when I started this podcast that I would have this type of impact. When people were saying, you got to get a bunch of likes and followers and whatever, and I realized that how big things got done were with a small group of people. You didn't need millions. All right. You need a small group of people that will reach millions of people and change the way they think. And I always felt that if you can find someone in a good place in their heart, it's easy to change the way people think. And I think we need more kindness. Um, I've had 7 people to date that when I've asked this question, 7 strangers that have been guests on my show, someone has um, addressed this question and gave them the answers. Most people live our whole lives having dreams and not having one come true. You've had many dreams come true. You're living that life. Like I said, your story reads like a Hollywood movie script, blockbuster, a summertime hit. Will Smith, step aside because Ben Press is now going to take over summer. But if you had one ask and someone could make that ask, or that dream come true, you got that one ask. What would that ask be?
For me, my
For
ask.
you, or for you, or for anybody else. I've had 3 people ask for somebody else. Out of 300 some odd interviews, everyone has asked for themselves, and it's okay. You
I'll
know,
tell you, my ask is that after it's all done, and who knows, maybe when I'm 105 or whatever it is, but when I'm taking my final breaths, I want to know to my core that I left it all in the field. I gave my all and I had a blast. I don't want regrets. I want to have a life that was wrung dry of all the goodness that I got to experience. It all. I didn't leave any in the towel. That is my ask, and that I live life bringing that for the every last bit of goodness.
I am sure there is a higher power than you and I, there's an energy in this world that will grant you your one ask. And I'm sure that the way that you're living your life, your three children, your lovely wife, all of your friends, both the new and old, um, will grant you that ask. And I will bear witness. I'll probably be gone before you will, but I'm going to make sure that that ask comes true. Now, is there anything that I missed? Because I hate having a guest come on the show and say, I wish he had asked, wish we had talked about, or wish he would said. Is there anything that we would like to share with an audience that we haven't shared? Any aspect of your life, your business?
Well, you covered it unbelievably well. I think I want to just continue to shed light on the fact that yeah, money, fame, fortune, those are great things. Fame a little less so. But those are amazing things, and I absolutely seek to obtain every day because I don't have a final number. Like I made it. I'm always striving, always striving. I'm never satisfied, but I'm grateful, and I think one of the most important things is that gratitude. To have that Peter Guber, who's a giant in entertainment, he owns sports teams. He ran studios. He's just considered one of the greats, one of the giants. He says he lives with an attitude of gratitude. I heard him say that at a talk he was at, that I was at, that he was giving. And I try to live with an attitude of gratitude. I think I'm achieving it. Because when you have gratitude, it's been proven you are open to things that people who don't have gratitude will never see. And if you're open to those things, yeah, it's going to bring wealth, it's going to bring love, it's going to bring just overall appreciation. So I think the secret sauce in everything, and I try to instill in my kids an attitude of gratitude because I think Gen Z, I'm Gen X, but Gen Z
Yeah.
and millennials, I don't know, but Gen Z, my kids are Gen Z. I think Gen Z in general doesn't have the gratitude concept. This is really a sweeping statement, but that we do in Gen X. Maybe we just live longer, so we
Right.
respect. But it's really all about gratitude.
Yeah, and I think our generation, we made life too easy for them. So, and with social media, immediate gratification is one of those things that everyone wants to be instant celebrity. Everyone wants a bank account that goes from 0 to 8 digits, whatever, instantly, and they don't know that life is a process. So
Yeah.
I think we kind of skipped a generation to whereas that gratitude aspect of it fills in the blank. I think they will learn what delayed gratification is as they go through the process of life. But right now, they're just not getting it because everything is immediate for them. So I don't know if that's right or wrong. But the only thing I can say, you have no idea how grateful I am to have you not only in my life as a personal friend, how grateful and honored I am to have you on this show. I know my listeners, I don't know what they're going to take away from it, but I hope they are just as grateful as I am. And so, to my listeners, we have covered a lot of information. We have learned an incredible story. I will say this if you like what you've heard, I would say go to RMK Productions and Network and go to our YouTube page. And you can subscribe, you can follow. But I do ask if you have a high call to action, I only really want the people that want to get involved and that want to change. If you're just a fan, I do appreciate you and I'm happy for you. But I'm looking for people that are looking to make changes. So if you like and subscribe, you're one of those people with a high call to action. I also want to remind you, I said, in order for you to grow, you must make some mistakes. To have confidence, you must address your anxieties. To forgive yourself, you must hold you accountable. And to learn, you must unlearn some stuff. And to exist, like my guest today, you have to show up more today than you did yesterday. You need to understand the power of your words. You need to understand we are all energy. And from that note, this is a message from a mindset messenger. My grandfather said, when you get to a place in life that you can help someone else out, he said it's your duty to do so. He said, reach one, teach one. And And when that's said, ladies and gentlemen, we're out and we'll fade to black. Thank you, Mr. Press.